looking at the market's performance today, it's certainly picking up. Looks like sentiment was definitely much better. Would you say this may have something to do with the inflation numbers that we had coming out today, where we saw inflation moving from 12.9% in June to 12.8%?
Uche, thank you for having me again. Just to quickly correct the information you just gave out now, I still work with Four Securities Discount House as an analyst, not to carry assets. Just to put the
Thank you so much for that, Robert.
Yeah, it's to work. But yeah, coming to the question you asked, you know, we saw a mixed performance this week on the bourse on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, and as you rightly said, you know, we've had the banking stocks doing most of the activities and contributing to the gain that culminated today. But if you check week on week, we still had a negative return. You know, this investors a slowdown in investor sentiment in terms of in terms of bigger factors in the economy. You can find out that the monetary space is very tight. Since last week, we've seen very, very tight money conditions in Nigeria because of the double whammy from the central bank, accommodating from the CRR increase, and of course the double whammy concerning the discount. Our banks approach the discount windows, and now so we've seen tight credit, and that has of course weakened investors' interest as well, because money is tight, so people cannot really participate really if they really want to use borrowed funds. But having said all of that, banking stocks, as you know, are big players in Nigerian bourse, and they will continue to determine the direction, apart from the heavily capitalized Dangote cement stock. Of course, we're still expecting GT Bank results, we're still expecting Access Bank results, and it can only get better for the banking stocks, except for the downside risk, which I see. The downside risk will just continue to be the tight monetary policy condition, and now it affects the businesses where we saw rates going up to as high as 31% in the previous week, and they're beginning to slow down because we're beginning to see some release of funds into the market. Concerning inflation, of course, you know that a key element to determine the required rate of return for any investor will be the expected rate of inflation. Of course, this inflation figure is hard, it's good, it's calmed down, but again, in our own sentiment, we anticipated this at our hand. But again, going forward, I think inflation, though it's still going to be in double digit to end the year, but I still believe that for the month of August, expected inflation should still have a downward trend. So it's good, positive news. We're going to see a bigger reaction next week with inflation figures as it will bore investors' interest, and and people will come to participate more.
Well, that's right, Babajide. We're probably going to see more of a reaction next week. But let's talk about that technical suspension that we're hearing has been put on Starcoms. Now they're saying it's because of a reconstruction of its shares that we should expect. What really is the reason for this? And take us through exactly what a technical suspension is.
Yes, technical suspension is just a situation on the Nigerian Floor Exchange. Of course, where we'll see a company normally impose on companies that, amongst other reasons, companies that are coming companies that are about to do IPO, initial public offering, offering their shares to the public. Of course, it can be done on companies, any attempt by any company to reorganize its capital structure, whether it wants to raise funds, or it wants to go into merger and acquisition, or wants to do some other kind of reclassification of its books. We'll go on technical suspension. We can have a full technical suspension, or just full technical suspension means that the shares, there will be no trading on those shares, and we could have some form of partial technical suspension in which there will be trading on the shares, but the price will not move. So what we've seen in the sense of Starcoms, as you mentioned, the information that's still hazy. All we know from the stock exchange, from information released today, is that the company is on technical suspension. But I understand as a result of, I think the company is going to propose merger with some players in the industry, and I assume that after this merger comes through, it's going to be possible for the company. Starcoms hasn't been doing well. Starcoms has been, wasteful with people's resources, with investors' resources. They haven't been posting very positive results. But I believe with this merger, if it goes through, hopefully we may see some form of resurgence, because the merger is going to create a market share of over 50%, either particularly for the fixed income, for the fixed wireless part of the telecom business, or either at the CDMA as well, to be a substantial market share. So that's just basically is technical suspension. Just means that the company wants to do some form of capital.
Well, thank you. Babajide, Babajide, we're running out of time. So, very quickly, thank you for explaining that to us. But give us your stock picks going into next week. Of course, we know banking stocks still hot on the back of possible results coming out of those two banks, GTB and Access. Consumer goods stocks also looking quite good. What's your take?
Well, my take is that, going into next week, I think my stock pick will still be Cadbury. Cadbury has just shown, over time, that it's gone out of the wood and is ready to to pay back investors. Yes, Cadbury to pay back investors for waiting all this while the company was trying to get out of the wood. And I expect more interest in Cadbury. Cadbury's numbers are strong with the earnings per share of about 1.28. We expect that they should be able to pay dividend in the region of £1, which is very good. GT Bank is a stock pick again. We're anticipating about 25 couple
Babajide, sorry, once again we've run out of time unfortunately, but thank you so much. Cadbury, definitely the banking stocks will continue to watch those during the course of next week. Thanks so much, Babajide Solanke, who's actually with FSDH and not with Carry Asset Management.